slide directly. The next week or so, we're going to have the We Live Polished event, which is for our wonderful female UVU students. They're going to go learn about leadership and go through a lot of the different courses. It's going to be a fun event. On the 30th, we have our Seed for Startup event. We're really excited for this. It's very akin to Shark Tank, if you all are familiar with that. There's going to be up to $350,000, not that much, $3,500 in funding. But we always want to push this because the deadline to participate, if you would like to pitch and promote your business idea as a UVU student, will be November 15th. So if you have any friends that are entrepreneurs and have any business ideas that they want to pitch, get them in contact with us so we can help get them prepared for that. We also don't have this on the slide, but our next We Lift event will be on December 1st or 2nd?
The first Wednesday.
First Wednesday of December. I believe that's the 2nd. It is going to be about getting on the front page of Google, and I believe it's another Heather that's going to be teaching us on that. So we are definitely excited for that. But let's introduce this Heather right now. This is Heather Nemelka, correct? Perfect. She's a seasoned e-commerce entrepreneur and marketing executive providing growth-oriented solutions for technology companies. Heather has worked at Fortune 100 companies and startups directing improved strategies, processing and outcoming to drive higher customer utilization for their products. So let's give a warm welcome for Heather. Oh yes, we're going to be having lunch afterwards, so if you just want to stick around after Heather has her thing, we're going to have tikka masala over in the conference room. So please hang around. We'd love to have that. So
okay.
There you are.
And do I just like click
Yeah,
the?
just click it. Should go back
Okay.
and forth on it.
All right. Super excited to be with y'all today, and hopefully this will be helpful. I want this to be a little interactive, so feel free to ask questions, but I'll definitely give you time at the end to be able to ask questions. So this is sort of, think of this workshop as an opportunity for you to think about where you're going. Some of you, actually, how many of you are entrepreneurs already? You've got a business, okay. So kind of a mix. So half already have a business, half are maybe thinking about it. And so I want to use this opportunity to be able to talk to you about maybe some of the things that are keeping you from being as successful as you want to be. Maybe you already are feeling successful, but you want to be more successful, or you're nervous and you're scared and you're not sure how to get started and to keep that momentum going. So that's where I come in, and hopefully I can be helpful to you. So the three things that I hope you walk away with are, I hope you can overcome self-conscious bias, and I'll describe that a little bit more later. How you can discover your superpowers that can help you really become the best entrepreneur that you can be, and then discovering some of the habits that can help you optimize your day and make the most of it. We all have the same set amount of time every day, and I want you to be able to really be efficient with it. So this is me in my very early years when I started out being a mom. It should become as no surprise that I would become an entrepreneur at some point. I have a question for all of you. How many of you have ever tasted a Dunford chocolate donut? They're big. You can get them at gas stations and Target and stuff. Okay, some of you have had it. So my great-grandmother started that business years ago, Dunford Bakers, and so I am a Dunford, and so I come from this long line of entrepreneurs, and it's funny because I've learned more about my ancestors as part of this actual presentation, so it's been kind of fun. So when I was a young mom, I had a neighbor. I was living in New York City, and I had a neighbor who had just bought a really fancy ring on a site called eBay. And it was like this emerald ring with diamonds, and she said she bought it at an auction on eBay. And I was like, what? And I had never heard of eBay, and so I got on my computer. I'm like, what is this? And I find out about it, and I thought she was crazy to have bought something so expensive on a website. And this was at the very early years of the internet. It was called World Wide Web. People would surf it, and I didn't know much about it, but I thought that was kind of interesting that people would buy things at auction. So I did a little bit of research, and I decided that even though I wasn't ready to buy things on eBay, I think I could maybe sell some things on eBay. So I learned how to set up a site, how to get product, and I decided to jump into the world of selling on eBay. And at first it was just for fun. I would look around my house and be like, okay, we don't use that anymore, I'm gonna sell it. Oh, we don't use that anymore, I'm gonna sell it. I bought that, I never used it, I'm gonna sell it. It was literally just going through all my stuff, and I'm not a hoarder, I'm not a pack rat. I like to get rid of things if I'm not gonna use it. So that's what I did. And I was selling things, it was super fun. I put it on auction for just a little bit, and then all of a sudden I would get all this money, and most of the time I would sell it for more than I bought it for. So not only did I get it out of the house and recycle, but I also made money more than I spent. So it was super fun, but just a hobby. And then one time I was going to a garage sale, an estate sale, and there were these 2 wooden fish there that looked super cool. And they looked like this. I don't have a picture of the original fish, but they were painted, they were made out of wood, and they had these glass eyes. Really, really cool. And I thought I was going to use them as decoration. So I bought them, and then a few months went by, and I thought, I'm never going to decorate with these. Why do I have them? So I thought, I'm going to put them on eBay. So I took one of the fish, took one picture, said on the listing, wooden fish, a glass eye, I think, is all I did. And I didn't even put anything in the description, really. It just said it's a wooden fish. It looks kind of cool. And that's it. Listed it for 75 cents because that's what I bought it for. And then a week later, I was shocked to find out that it had sold for $75. I was like, what? Like, where can I get more of these, right? So then I had this second fish that I hadn't yet listed, and I thought, there's got to be something to this. I have no idea what it is. So I did some research and found out that these are wooden fish decoys that ice fishermen use. They cut the hole, they put the wooden fish decoy down in the water, and they attract fish through this decoy. And they are highly collectible, and I don't think they use them nowadays, but way back when they did. And they're kind of big, like this, the fish were like this big, long, and had these really cool glass eyes. So the second one was kind of painted in Americana colors, red, white, and blue, really cool. And I measured it, I took 6 pictures, I called it a wooden fish decoy, I actually described it, and put it on the website again, 75 cents, and in a week it sold for $250. And I was like, what? What? This is crazy. And that's when my love for selling on eBay took off. I started to then really actively find product. I would go to, back in the day, Down East Home they would buy product from Williams-Sonoma in a Pottery Barn, and my friends are the owners, and they probably didn't know I was buying all of this stuff from Down East Home to resell. But I made a lot of money, and then as my kids started to grow older, they were helping me too. They would go through and help me find, and I'd say, they would kind of know the things that we're going to sell. And so it kind of became sort of like a family business. I became a power seller. It became really fun, and I loved it. And I started off selling under one label, and then my eBay business became too good for a garage sale. And now it's just for fun, but back in the day, this was really a big deal. And then in 2014, after almost 24 years of marriage, my husband filed for divorce. And it was devastating, super, super hard. And so this eBay business that I had, that I wanted to keep doing, after we were going through the procedure, I learned that our finances were really not good, really bad. And he had already lost his hedge fund in 2008. And so the business had been more of the primary income. But now we were getting divorced, he wasn't working, and I was going to have to get insurance somehow for our family. And so even though I loved selling on eBay and it was a good income, I needed insurance for me and my kids. And so this is back in 2014, beginning all over again. And so it was a very scary time. I wanted to keep doing eBay, but I just couldn't. It was just too hard. I needed insurance. So I decided I was going to go back to work full time, and that was very scary too. So went back to work full time as a single mother of 5 kids and went to work for KT Tape. And after KT Tape, Crucial well, it was Vital Smarts. Now it's called Crucial Learning, then Domo, and then Amazon Web Services. And during this period of time, I still have my eBay business on the side. It's much more kind of just side income, additional money. It covered all of Christmas presents, birthday, travel, things like that. But I mostly needed to work for insurance. But the other reason why I went back to work is because I wanted to learn how to really be a marketer and how to be better at selling if I was going to do a business, again, more than what I was doing with Too Good for a Garage Sale. So when I worked at KT Tape, I learned to work with these famous athlete influencers, set up a website, troubleshoot, do social media, do product, order from China, all these things. It was a fantastic experience. And that's really where I became like a true marketer. Vital Smarts learned how to do field marketing, which is what I do now. Again, learned how to work with sales, how to create sales sheets and, collateral and webinars and events, execute events. Then carried that to Domo and then Amazon Web Services. And now I do global field marketing for a company in Denver. I share this not to discourage you from being an entrepreneur, but to let you know that it's okay to have a full-time job and have your entrepreneur side be a side hustle, right? So oftentimes you still have things to learn, and you can learn by doing, obviously, and the internet has tons of information, and you can go to workshops and follow podcasts and things like that. But I'm here to tell you that sometimes you just need to be working full time and learning how professionals do it, and that's fine. I learned so much more working and being in the full-time workforce than I ever thought I would have learned, and I probably learned some things faster than if I had just strictly been an entrepreneur, but I might have missed out on some things as well. So the business that I launched I guess a year and a half ago is called Skiwampus, and when I was growing up, my grandmother, whenever anything was kind of crazy or wasn't working out, she would say, gosh, it's so skiwampus right now. And I thought it was a made-up word, and then when I was trying to think about my business and what I wanted to call it, I Googled it, and it's a real word. And sometimes it's spelled skiwampus with a U and sometimes A. And this made perfect sense for my life. I was like, okay, this is so not what I was planning on. My life is skiwampus. Like, that made perfect sense to me. And I bought the website, the domain, and I was off to the races. And so what I did was launch this self-improvement blog is basically what it is. And it's growing, so it's at the early stages. And I'll talk a little bit more about it later, but that's what I'm working on right now, and as one of the businesses that I'm working on right now. So again, I mentioned the 3 things that we're going to cover, and so be thinking about how you're going to implement this in your life. So I want this to be useful to all of you. So overcoming self-conscious bias. A lot of us know what unconscious bias is, right? Well, self-conscious bias really isn't a word. It's a term that I coined that explains some of the fear and the I guess you would think you're being an imposter, the imposter syndrome that some of us feel. So self-conscious bias is relying on your own personal, unsupported judgments against yourself as compared to another in a way that is unfair and overly self-critical. So a lot of us are really self-critical, right? Someone can tell you, you're awesome, Heather, gosh, you really know what you're doing. And I'm inside thinking, I'm a loser, nobody wants to buy from me, I really don't know what I'm doing, I'm faking everybody out. And that is how a lot of us feel. In fact, I was talking recently to the former chief marketing officer of Doc Martens, and he was telling me that he feels this all the time, and he's super successful. And I thought, man, if he feels this way, surely I think a lot of us, especially as entrepreneurs, we feel this way all the time. And it doesn't matter how successful we get, it's something that's in the back of our minds. We just doubt ourselves. So something that has really worked for me, and I thought it was a joke, I didn't really believe it until I started doing it. So if any of you think, oh, this isn't for me, I agree. It wasn't for me at first either. But positive affirmations is really something that has helped me overcome this self-conscious bias, this self-doubt. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit about how I do positive affirmations. So I write out my positive affirmations, and I start with I am. and always present tense. So not I wish, I want to be. It's always that I am. This is right now. And then making them specific and short, state them in the positive, and make sure they resonate with you. And say them with feeling. This is like the most important part, is saying them with feeling. And what's hard is oftentimes when you start with positive affirmations, you kind of are like, I'm a loser. Why would I say I am awesome? Like, it doesn't make any sense, right? So you're kind of tricking your mind to believe what you really are, right? And the reason why number 5 is also important is they really do have to resonate with you, right? So if you say something in your positive affirmations that you're just like, I still don't think that, maybe change it, right? So I'm going to give you some examples here. Are some that you could choose to say. I'm good enough. I'm worthy of my success. I'm excited. I feel strong and powerful every day. I'm smart and capable. And I say my positive affirmations still today, and I change them, right? So certain times of your life are going to be easier and others are going to be harder. So when I started working for Amazon Web Services, super, super hard. Like, I was like, I'm a loser. I don't know what I'm doing. This is really much harder than I thought. And it was funny, I was talking to somebody and I was expressing how challenging I felt like it was. And they said, haven't you heard of this saying? I was like, no, what saying? And they said, Amazon is where overachievers go to feel bad about themselves. And it totally was. Like, I am so type A, so overachiever, and I was feeling like I was the biggest loser on the face of the planet. So these positive affirmations came in clutch for me. And I really, I believe in them. And to go back to this, saying them with feeling, this is the part that oftentimes people miss. For whatever reason, our body has to feel it to believe it. And so for me, when I say them, I will say mine, looking in the mirror sometimes not. And I will say it and with energy. And after you do it enough times, you really and truly start to believe it. And your body starts to feel it, and it becomes real. It becomes real. And in fact, I have my list of positive affirmations on my bathroom mirror and next to my desk in my office. So when I'm feeling challenged and it's really hard to move forward, I go to my affirmations and I say them again and do them daily in the morning. Some people also do them at night, but I just do them in the morning. The second thing to overcome self-doubt and self-conscious bias is surrounding yourself with cheerleaders. How many of you have expressed your great business idea or even the idea that you want to start a business and be an entrepreneur, and they're like, why would you do that? You really don't know anything about that. How many of you have had people that you love tell you that you can't do it or that you're crazy or whatever? I have. So I was so surprised when when I was starting to do some of these other businesses, and people would say, is that a really good time right now? Do you have time? You have 5 kids and you're working. And it's and I would feel so much more doubt because I did not surround myself with cheerleaders. And this is so important. Rudy, how many of you seen the movie Rudy? I think most of us have seen the movie Rudy. If you haven't, see the movie Rudy. He spoke in Utah a few years ago, and I love this quote. He said, if you don't believe in yourself, it probably won't happen because you are going to have doubt your whole life. Your whole life. You got to get rid of doubt and goofy thinking people. Get rid of all the people who tell you what you can be and what you can't be. Go where you want to be. That's the secret. This has been true for me. Something else that he said in this presentation is he said, your friends and family can be dream killers. And I know that sounds weird, but it's kind of true. Sometimes the people that are the closest to us, who we would expect to support us, make us feel good about ourselves, kind of are like the crabs in the hot boiling pot of water, pulling down the crabs that are trying to escape. And I don't know if it's because they're jealous or they just really don't want you to fail. So they figure they're saving you from yourself by saying, don't do it, you can't do it. And we have to be really careful. I'm not saying to get rid of all the people I can't be with any of you anymore, right? but I think it's putting people in your life that are going to support you. And I think going to, places here, being in communities and groups and clubs and things like that that are also full of entrepreneurs wanting to build businesses is really key. So as you surround yourself with people that are cheering you on, it'll get easier. Spend time listening, watching, and studying those who are ahead of you to help you get where you want to be. There was a time when I was early on in my entrepreneurial activities when I really was starting to feel like, it's too hard. I just can't do it. I'm not going to make enough money. I'm not going to be able to pay the bills. This is, and I just was feeling ridiculously depressed. And I was trying to think back, when did I feel the most successful in my life? And I realized that when I felt the most successful and had the most energy to do my business was when I was listening to podcasts about entrepreneurs, watching TED Talks, reading books, all of those things. It energized me and kept me moving forward. And so I have a list here of my absolute favorite books, and you have to know something about me. I am a voracious reader. I believe in reading physical. I believe in listening in the car, in the shower, making dinner. I am always listening to a book or reading a physical book. And these have been super influential in my life. They're not specific about starting a business or being an entrepreneur, but if you want to be successful in anything, I promise you, last year I read 65 books, okay, if that gives you a sense. And self-help books are my absolute favorite type of book. Atomic Habits changed my life. If you have not read that book, you have to read that book. Talk Like TED. I love public speaking. That's something that's been really helpful. Success Principles. I'll be sharing something from that book in a little bit. The compound effect, meaning every little thing you do, starting small, builds and builds and builds. So start these habits. This book, I don't like all the language. There is some language in there, so I apologize to promote a book with all the language, but she's fantastic and talks about her own difficulties starting out as an entrepreneur. The Alchemist is just a great folk tale, and that has been around for years. I think it's been translated in like 60 languages. I think every language on the planet. It's easy reading and tells a great story. Miracle Morning, if you aren't an early riser or if you have a hard time, that's the book, and that's how you can get going in your mornings. Another book by Jen, and then 7 Spiritual Laws of Success by Deepak, is it Chopra? I think. These are my favorite books. So if you could pick one book on there, I'd say Atomic Habits, hands down, but everything else is super great too. So I tell you this because when I'm listening to these books every single day, it's almost like somebody on repeat in my mind saying, you can do it. You are awesome. Look what's possible. These are the things you need to do. And so I started to get back in the habit of making sure I did this. So when I was feeling like I couldn't do anything, I wasn't feeling very positive about my business, I went back to these and just reread them and re-listen to them and re-watch them. And I promise it will make a huge difference. And you're going to have your own, right? These are mine. But you'll find other ones that resonate with you. And when you do find one that is super impactful to you, that has changed your life, reread it. It's funny, I will take notes and I'll think, I'll never forget this. But for whatever reason, we get busy and we forget. So make sure you take time to do that. Discover your superpowers. Oftentimes as entrepreneurs, we tend to gravitate to those things that are easier, natural, things like that. But I want you to think outside the box about some things that maybe you might not have considered. So for those of you who don't have a business, or for those of you who have a business but maybe want to expand, think about what are some things that you could be doing, some skill sets that you already have that you are not yet applying. I like this because she's like a business person, but then underneath she's got this, superhero chest. And I think that's how we need to think of ourselves. Like we're professionals, but then underneath we really do have superpowers. So this is what I want you to do. Create a list of all of the things you do well, okay? Your strengths. Which ones do you feel most passionate about? And you could also switch out, create a list of all the things you do well with, create a list of all the things you know well, right? So sometimes entrepreneurs get in trouble by trying to do something they really don't know anything about. That's not to say that they can't be successful, it's just harder, right? And I think if you already start with something that you know really well, the passion already is there, right? If you know sports really well, you're gonna feel that passion is gonna feel natural. Number two, if money wasn't necessary and nothing stood in your way, what would you do, right? I mean, most of the time, money drives our decisions, at least it does for me. I'm thinking, I've got to pay bills. I've got to make sure that I've got some savings because I came from, being divorced, no alimony, no savings. And so that's something that's top of mind. But, really, what would you do? If money was not important, what would you do? So think about that. And then ask the people who know you well to share what they most admire about you. So I did this. I did this with my friends. I did this with like 15 or 20 friends. I sent them an email and it just said, I'd love to, I'm doing this exercise. I didn't explain what it was for, but I just said, I really want you to tell me what you most admire about me. Like, tell me 3 things. And it was fascinating to know most of them had at least 2 of what I thought were my three things. Excuse me, I take that back. Most of them all said 2 of the 3, like it was almost all of the group of people that I asked, they all seemed to say the same thing or like a variation of the same word about me. And that was really telling to me because I did think I knew 2 of them, but the third one, I was like, no way. And like a lot of people said this third one. So I thought that was interesting. Ask yourself the following: what did you used to love doing as a child that's been put on hold, and what comes naturally to you? Lots of us, as we were kids, we did things and we felt comfortable in our skin doing them because we were kids, right? It was like nobody's going to grade you on it. Nobody's going to, fire you for it. And think about what it is that you used to do as a child that was super fun, and it feels natural to you, and you really enjoy it. So when I was in elementary school, there was this speaking contest in 5th grade. And I remember being young in like 2nd or 1st grade, and everybody in the school would go and listen to the speaking contest of the 5th graders that were chosen to speak. And I remember thinking to myself, that's my goal. Like, I want to be in that speaking contest. And so I ended up doing it in 5th grade, and I surprisingly, I ended up winning. And this is really what I like. Speaking publicly is really what I want to do eventually, right? So think about in your life, things that come naturally to you are probably things you're going to be successful at. And so that's something for you to consider also as you're trying to either build your business or as you're starting out. So you can't see this very well, and it's probably just as well that you can't see it. So before I turned 50, I decided to make a list of 50 things. 50 things I wanted to accomplish before I turned 50. And so I thought about just everything. What are some things I haven't ever done? Where are some places I've never traveled? What are some things that I didn't like as a kid, but I'm going to try it now as an adult to see if I like it? And I put them on this list. So some of the things were really hard, and some of the things were really easy. So I'll give you some of them. Speaking at a conference, start a blog, learn to meditate, go crabbing, enter a photography contest, start a business, visit the salt flats, learn to juggle, read 50 books, learn to play pickleball, play chess, learn how to ski. I still don't know how to ski. Donate blood, try rhubarb, so I just made this list of 50 things. And I literally just thought, what are all some of the things that I don't want to turn 50 and not have done these things. This is my goal. But then COVID hit. So my list of 50 things, there's just like one of the things on my list is to go to the Philippines. I couldn't do that during COVID, right? So I decided that's okay. I'm still going to work on it. And so I started ticking off these things one by one. The reason why I'm sharing this with you is because I have on this, start a business. And this is what was the impetus to starting Ski Wampus. And if I hadn't done this 50 things, I think it would have been easy just to say, well, someday I'll do it. I'm really busy. But now I'm doing it, and now I'm also starting another business called Spunky, which is at super, super early stages, and that business is connecting pet parents to their pets. And so that's really early. But it's kind of fun for me because you sometimes discover who you want to be and what you want to do when you create a list of 50 things. So I encourage you, 30 things before you turn 30, 40 things before you turn 40, whatever you want it to be. And it can be anything. But I do encourage you to make a list, have it be hard, have it be easy, like a variety of things. I still have probably 12 things on this list that I still have to finish. Some of them are easy, like one of them is learning how to juggle. I have the juggle kit, it's on my dresser, I see it every day, it bugs me like no other. It's like, I need to learn how to juggle. It's right there. Oh, is that okay? Maybe, CJ, can you come over to my house and teach me how to juggle? The non-dominant hand. Okay, I can do it.
Here would just say, pick up a ball. Just pick
Oh,
up
and
a
then,
ball, right?
yeah.
Right? Atomic
That's
habits,
true.
just one
And
small-
one little bit at a time, and then eventually I'll get,
Yep.
see, you guys are awesome.
Just throw one up in the air, and then you get two.
And then I'm there before I know it.
You got this.
I got this. Okay, thanks, you guys. I needed this. This was for me, not for any of you. So, but I love this because it's constantly like making me just a better person too. So as you're trying to build yourself as an entrepreneur, you're building a business, but you should also be building yourself, right? So push yourself. Do some things that are crazy. Like I have on this list, play at velour. I had always wanted to play at velour forever. Drove by it in downtown Provo for years. And then because I put it on my list, I actually did it. And it was so much easier than I thought it was gonna be. I was so scared for nothing. So literally freaking do this list. It's not that hard, and it gives you something to look forward to and do. Give yourself, I have a when, what, how. When are you gonna do it by? What are you gonna do? And how are you going to accomplish it? And so I have more information on my Skiwampus website, and you can see that. And when you go to the website, if you go there, you'll see that it's still a work in progress, and that's perfectly fine. So, a lot of the people here are men, so I love it. So, we all have superpowers, and we are warriors. So think about that as you're trying to build your business. I love this quote by Eleanor Roosevelt. You gain strength, courage, and confidence by every experience in which you really stop to look fear in the face. Look it in the face. You must do the thing which you think you cannot do. Lots of us think we can't accomplish what we're doing. I never thought I could become a power seller with eBay. That was like crazy talk. But it just happened. You just keep doing it, and somehow it works out, especially if you look fear in the face. Okay, build habits to optimize your day. Let me see where we are with time. I am all about habits. I am huge into positive habits. I've read every habit forming good, form good habit books that exist, and I've learned something from all of them. I think they're great. I don't know if there's any one book, except for Atomic Habits, that is like that solves for a lot of the problems and issues that we have. But let's talk about our habits. We all have the same amount of time every day. Like we all have 24 hours. You may think, well, that person has tons more free time than I do. But the reality is we have all decided how to spend it differently, right? Some of us need more sleep. I'm so jealous of my brother who doesn't need very much sleep. He only needs 4 hours. I really need 8, but I usually get 6. That's not what I choose to do, but I'm prioritizing, and that's what happens, right? So we all have the same amount of time. So what are we gonna do about it? So these are the things that I recommend. Again, this is all gonna help you be a better entrepreneur. Make a plan for the day, follow morning routine, and tackle difficult things first, okay? I am a huge make a list kind of a person. That's how I live. I make a list on my Saturday. This is all the things I'm gonna accomplish every single day. I have a Franklin planner. I've been using it since I was in college. I've tried Wunderlist. I've tried all the digital things. I have to have it on paper. I just do. Not everybody's that same way. And I'm one of those freaks that also likes to put, make bed crossed off. I did it. Awesome. And even though I was going to do that no matter what, right? I love that. I love the feeling of accomplishment, but not everybody is that way. Do what works for you. But I promise you, making a list is actually very progressive, right? You're making a plan. This is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to accomplish it. And you're so much more likely to get things done by making that list. This is my list. So wake up by 5 o'clock, pray, do my affirmations, dress for the gym, exercise, listen to an audiobook at the gym. So I was in my MBA program. I did a lot of my studying and reading as I was biking at the gym. I just brought my huge textbook, sat it on the bike, and just read and studied while I was at the gym. I like to be productive again, so that's why I'm listening to an audiobook while I'm exercising. Making breakfast, meditate. Meditation is something else that I did not add to this, but it's something that I also recommend too. I do transcendental meditation. There's also all different kinds of meditation. Again, find what works for you. I use an app that's free called One Giant Mind, and they have different times you can do, different voices you can hear, and that's how I got started. And I really believe in meditation to kind of clear your mind. Again, I didn't think that would work either. Like positive affirmations and meditation, I thought those were like kooky, like that doesn't work. But I'm here to say it really does work, but you have to give it a shot. And you can start out with 5 minutes and then build up from there. I have a friend that meditates in the morning and in the evening, but I only do it in the morning. And I remember that before I started meditating, I remember saying, I don't even have 15 minutes to meditate. And I'm such a doer that meditation feels like wasteful. It feels like I'm just sitting there, because you are, right? But you're getting so much more out of it. Shower and get ready for work, study Spanish and write. So on my list of 50 things, I have to learn Spanish. So I have an app that I do, and I want to write a book at some point. And this doesn't always get done like I want it to, because work sometimes starts earlier than that time. Oftentimes it starts earlier. But that's my plan. So if you make a plan for your day, you at least are being proactive. You have a better chance of accomplishing what you want by making your plan, and then you can see my work. And I have a similar thing for the evening. Yeah?
Okay, what do you do when you're like halfway through your morning and like something comes up, someone calls you, you have to run an errand?
It always happens. It always happens. And there's a quote that you'll see that will explain how to deal with it, and that will be the answer, promise. Tackle difficult things first, okay? This is a frog. In Jack Canfield's book, Success Principles, he talks about eating the frog. And so what I do is I pick 2 frogs on my list that are the hardest things for me to do that day. Some days you may not have a frog. You might just not have much going on, and that's okay. But if you have something that's like a big deal, like you've got to have a difficult conversation with someone, or you've got to spend some money on something that you're like, oh, it's painful, I don't want to spend that money, tackle the frogs first, and the rest of the day will seem like heaven and easy, but it's always tackling that first, that difficult thing first that's hard. So eat the frog. Eat the frog. This is the quote that will answer your question. Missing once is an accident. Missing twice is the start of a new habit. This is a distinguishing feature between winners and losers. Anyone can have a bad performance, a bad workout, or a bad day at work. But when successful people fail, they rebound quickly. The breaking of a habit doesn't matter if the reclaiming of it is fast. I think this principle is so important that I'll stick to it even if I can't do a habit as well or as completely as I would like. Too often we fall into an all or nothing cycle with our habits. The problem is not slipping up. The problem is thinking that if you can't do something perfectly, then you shouldn't do it at all. So to your question, we're always going to have days where something happens, it like breaks it up, and you're like, ugh. But think of a couple things. First of all, you still have the rest of your day, right? So there's still some things you can accomplish. If you have your to-do list, even if you didn't get some of the things done in the morning that you wanted to, You still have your evening, but it's going to happen. I have so many days where all of my good plans went out the window because, my kids, or because work, I had an unexpected meeting, or I had to go to the doctor. Those things are going to happen, but I think what's important is you rebound quickly, right? So whatever you thought you're going to accomplish, it's okay. Don't beat yourself up about it, but don't let it be an excuse to you to not continue and get back on the path. Okay, so we talked about building habits to optimize your day. I love that other quote, but this is my favorite quote. There will never be a perfect time to do something that stretches you. That's true whether you are starting a business, having a child, changing careers, or wrestling with any number of challenges. That's not a license to be reckless and never think things through, but at some point you have to embrace the uncertainty because it is the only path forward. If you were ready for it, it wouldn't be growth. Being an entrepreneur, first and foremost, is about growth. You're growing your business, but you're also growing yourself, and in that process, that is going to be life-changing. So as you're thinking about what you're doing with your business, think about what you're also going to get as a person, right? So hopefully people are going to benefit from your business. They're going to be blessed, and whether it's products or services that you're bringing to the market, that's obviously your goal oftentimes of being an entrepreneur, and you want to make money. But even if it's not successful, even if you don't make any money, the growth that's going to happen with yourself is really what should be the highlight. So as you're thinking about what you're doing as an entrepreneur and how to move forward, selfishly start to think about you and how are you going to embrace this uncertainty, because it's scary, it's hard. So I have Skiwampus, but I'm also starting this business called Spunky. And I remember when I was trying to think up names and things like that, and magically this domain was available, which was really crazy, because if anybody has looked for domains, like every domain is gone. Like and if you try, you're like, oh, I think I'll be cool, I'll spell it a little different. Somebody already has bought that. Or the domain, GoDaddy, they own it, and they want like $60,000 for it or whatever. I was talking to the founder of Entrada, and this was years ago when I interviewed him for an article, and he had said that, and I'm pretty sure this was the number, but like for that website, that domain, Entrada, they paid like $150,000 for it. Like that was they wanted that name, right? So I got Spunky, but I did have to pay money for it, like more than what I wanted, but it was what I wanted to use. And it's funny because I was talking to my daughter, and she's all like, Spunky. I don't know, Mom. I don't sure, kind of, and I'm like, spunky, like animals are spunky. Like I was trying to convince my child that this is going to be successful and awesome. And all of a sudden that self-conscious bias started to creep in. I'm like, yeah, maybe dogs aren't spunky. Do people even use the word spunky anymore? Maybe not. And I started totally self-doubt. And then I was talking to somebody else who was a cheerleader for me, and they're like, Heather, that's great. And it's spelled S-P-U-N-K-E, so not spunky with the Y, but E. And they're like, that's great. Yeah, and that's sort of like who you are. You're kind of spunky. I'm like, I am kind of spunky, aren't I? Okay, I'm good with it. But I also started to think as I'm starting to with this business, I'm like, okay, I don't have any time. I'm working at this job that takes so much hours, but I've given myself a due date to quit, and it's scary. So you have to check back in with me to make sure that I have actually, I'm going to do it at some point. Not at some point, I have a date. But it's scary, right? And I need health insurance. So what am I going to do? I'm a little scared, right? But I've been wanting to do this for so long. And I haven't, outside of Spunky and Squampus, I have a big, big idea. Facebook, Instagram, big idea. Just crazy big. And that's something that sometimes I need courage. I need to get excited about it because it's I don't know that I can do it. It's just so hard. But I'm gonna start with these smaller ones. That's another thing I was gonna say is start small and build up, and you'll start get that confidence. When I started selling on eBay, I never thought it was going to be like our primary major source of income. I knew that it would be fun. It was a great hobby, but then it became something bigger, and I'm super grateful for it. And now it's just a fun side hustle. I still sell things, and it pays for Christmas, right? So it's just, just a lot of fun. This is my family. That picture of my little kids, that's all of them except for I now have a son-in-law, and that's us. That's me and my kids. So if you want to connect with me, connect on LinkedIn or htmlk@comcast.net. You can just email me, and skwampus.com is the website. Happy to have you ask me questions, and because I've given you like a little less than 15 minutes. So.
So with your new business, Spunky, are you able to have insurance?
So I'm divorced, and my former husband is working out insurance with a company that he has. So he doesn't work for the company, but he's on the board of directors, and he's trying to get that. So I'm hoping that can work out. It's hard because my kids, even though my oldest has health insurance through work, so he's off my health insurance, and she works full time, and she can get health insurance. She's still on mine. My other kids, she's a student, and he's, a high school senior. So it's like.
So you don't have any answers for insurance for entrepreneurs? Because I said goodbye to that a long time ago.
Really?
I don't know how to solve it yet.
Okay. You guys, we should start an insurance company for entrepreneurs, right?
Spunky.
Called Spunky. Come on, you guys, let's do it. Are you in?
Yeah, I am in because I need it eventually.
Okay. Well, if anybody has any ideas, let's talk. Okay, any other questions? You guys are quiet.
Yeah.
I have a
Yeah.
question, just as a woman. What have you done as far as the grappling with mom guilt?
Oh, that is the best question ever. Okay, if there was a contest of who has the most mom guilt, I'm the winner, I promise. Because
You're just like, I'm just
I think, I could be wrong, but I think women are born with mom guilt, even those who aren't moms. Like I do. I just feel like it's like this feeling of I should be doing more. I'm not being nice enough to people. I'm not, anyway. So I believe there's a time and a season for everything. And how I've grappled with it is understanding that I'm never going to do all the things I want to do as a mom. And part of it became easier when I became divorced, right? Because I kind of was given permission to go out and be a career woman, right? Because I had to earn money for the family. There was no income. So I've been able to grapple because of that. So I've kind of given myself permission to be successful. But this is the number one thing that I recommend everybody do, even if you're not a mom. So when I was going to school, getting my MBA and working full-time and super busy, I had an eBay business on the side too, I decided I needed to have one-on-one time with my kids. So I decided every night to read to each of my kids for 15 minutes or shorter if they were younger. And so I would climb into bed with them with the book that they chose. I read Harry Potter 1. I read this dragon book with another, and a girl romance book with another. They each had a different book, and we read every night. And so that helped me with my mom guilt, because I was like, you know what, this is our focus time. And they snuggled up with me, and they shared some of the things that were difficult, and we got to talk. And they all had that time. And so even my senior, I was reading to them every night. And it sounded crazy, but I started when they were young enough that they wanted to keep that up. So find something that you can have time with them, because it's not going to take the mom guilt away, but it does help a lot. So, and your kids will forget. Okay, this is the other thing that's crazy. I would take my kids to Thanksgiving Point. I would do all these amazing things with them, bake cookies, do all this stuff. And one of my kids was saying the other day, is like, Mom, how come we never went to Hogle Zoo when I was, when I was young? I was like, are you kidding? We went to Hogle Zoo all the time, and here's some pictures to prove it. Kids will forget what you did. They'll remember the feeling that you gave them. So engaging with them on a emotional basis when you can't physically always be with them, I think is really important. But mom guilt is real. Anything else?
You mentioned The Alchemist. What's your personal legend?
When I talk about wanting to be a speaker, that is my personal legend. So even though I love business and I love doing that entrepreneurial side, it's really a means to an end. So I really want to be on the speaking circuit and speak to groups. So that, I think I was meant to speak and connect with people. And I'm not sure exactly what that is. I just know I'm supposed to do it at some point. So working on it still.
To go with that, would this be your like TED Talk style thing? You know, becoming an entrepreneur?
Yeah. Well, I think so. Or whatever I become successful, like if there's something else that becomes a success. Yeah. This is how to avoid mom guilt, overcome mom guilt, right? Yeah.
So you talk about the importance of meeting cheerleaders in our life. How can we become better cheerleaders for other women in our lives?
Oh, that's a great idea. I think if you wanted to have a cheerleader, what would you want? You'd want to have someone, like just tell you you're great, but in a real authentic way, right? And just help you. Like when you need like maybe somebody to watch your kids, or you need to go to lunch or things like that, like do that for someone else and just say, hey, let's do something stress relieving. Let's kind of just spend some time. And I think also too, being slow to judge, right? So when you hear somebody's business idea, don't be so quick to say, you don't know anything about that. Like, why are you doing that, right? Be that encouraging, just like, oh, wow, that's so cool. That's awesome. How can I help? Like, do you want to brainstorm ideas? I know somebody that can do a logo for you. I know this and that, and make connections, right? Networking is super important, especially when you're first starting out with a business. So making sure that you connect with those people and help make connections, like be a connector to other people, because we all have networks, right? Yeah.
Have you read The Go-Giver?
No.
Okay.
Is The Go-Giver?
Go-Giver.
Is that going to be a favorite on my list?
Possible. It's
Okay.
very good.
Really? Okay. Who's the author of it? Do you know?
I think so.
Okay, The Go-Giver. Okay, you guys, add that to your book list. Thank you. Any other good books out there that you think I should be reading?
Kick Fear in the Face by Tia Woods.
Oh, I've seen it.
She's awesome.
Really? Okay.
In the middle of it right now. It's
Okay, see, and if you love something like that, that's the one you should just keep, even once you've done it, you just keep doing it. Keeps you excited. Anything else? Okay. Oh, yeah.
Yep, question. I have tried to start different businesses, and some of them have worked, some didn't, When is the point that you decide that you have done so much, but it's time for you to move on,
Yeah.
It's hard because you are so involved, so,
Yeah.
emotional, and everything.
That is a perfect question, and I'll share something with you. So when I was growing up, my father got laid off multiple times, and he finally ended up starting his own business because he got older and he couldn't get hired again. It was just really difficult. So he started this business called Lasting Links, and it was about genealogy and things like that, but it was before its time. So it was before Family Search and other sites like that, Ancestry.com. And he had told my mom multiple times, I'm going to do it until this date, and then I promise we'll stop. Every time that date came and went, he continued to do it. They used up all their savings, everything was gone, and it wasn't a great situation. And so what I would encourage you to do, and I'm super prayerful about decisions, and you can choose to do however you want, but I would, if other people are involved, like if you're married, like consult with them, talk about them, like talk with them and say, this is what I think we can do. This is our savings. This is where I think this at this point, and stick to it, right? And maybe later down the line, there will be an opportunity to come back to it when you've got a better financial situation or some things where you can come back and take that chance to go back to it. So I'm not saying close the door on it, but definitely give yourself a date. And maybe talk to some people that are in that industry that know it well and know it better than you, to ask their opinion too. And just say, hey, I'm starting out, let's say it was, a restaurant, and I'm here and I don't know what to do, but this is kind of where I'm going. This is my savings. This is what I've got to have investment. And then, and then get advice to know when that date should be, because you really should have a date. You really should. If if finances are important to you and you have people that are depending on you, you kind of have to say a date, because my family struggled. Like we didn't have that income. And if my dad had just, now he looks back and he regrets not sticking to his date. And he could have probably become, an entrepreneur doing something else, but he stuck with this one thing and never went back to. So I don't know if that helps.
Yes.
There's no magic bullet,
Thank you for this jump.
but give yourself time, but have an exit strategy, or when you're going to, like, that was good. And always look at these things as learning things. Like, it's not bad. It's not bad if it wasn't successful. You grew, right? So, yeah.
What would you say, you hear the common phrase, like, you become like the 5 people you spend the most time with. What are your thoughts on, like, creating healthy boundaries with people that you feel like are holding you back from being successful?
Wow. Yeah, no, that's good. That's really good. I think so when I worked for Vital Smarts or Crucial Conversations, it talks about those difficult conversations that sometimes you have to have with people. So I would recommend that book if there's some people you have to have that conversation with, Crucial Conversations, because it teaches you how to have those talks. But you do have to set boundaries. You do, because those people in your life that are super negative and telling you can't do it, you have to have that conversation and just say, hey, this is really important to me. I need you to be my cheerleader. I really want you to be on board. How can I make you more comfortable with this idea? And, I would love you to help me X, Y. So if you think they can help and they just need guidance, like direction, like this is what I need you to help me with, then keep them on board and just, focus them. But if you think they're just bad news and it's negative energy, you just got to have that conversation. You just got to say, hey, I've got lots going on in my life, and right now this isn't healthy for me, and it's not giving me the positive energy I need. Let's take a break, right? And it's not like no forever, but unless they're really toxic and bad, then you would say, yeah, you're out of my life. So,
Can I add to that?
yeah.
It doesn't mean you have to cut them out of your life entirely. Just don't talk business with that person.
Yeah.
You keep it at like what you ate that week or something else.
Yeah.
Right?
And if they start to bring that, and if they start to bring that topic up, I'm going to just say, thanks, but that's off topic right now. Like we just can't. It's a great idea. Love that.
All right, well, let's say thank you to Heather.
Thanks.
And we have food in the conference room, so hopefully you brought your appetites as well. Stick around for some networking. We talked a little bit about the importance of networking. And are you able to stick around and answer some more questions too?
Of course, yep.
All right, well, thank you all for coming. Make sure you've checked in. If you haven't yet, there's a QR code on your table.